Order. Please stand for the Lord's Prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Councilor Caulfield.
Here.
Councilor Donahue.
Here.
Councilor Elliott.
Here.
Mayor Martin.
Here.
Councilor Armand Mercia.
Here.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Here.
Councilor Milanazzo.
Here.
Councilor Ramirez.
Here.
Councilor Broderick.
Here.
9 present.
9 present. We have the first order of business this evening is a presentation from the United Teen Equality Center to show us about their new location. We have someone from UTEC here to speak with us. If we just tell us your name and address, please, and we'll be glad to see the presentation.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager, host of the council. My name is Josh Morales. I work as a team leader here at UTEC. I've been at UTEC for about a year and a half now. And basically, we all came here pretty much to show our thanks for everything y'all done for us. All the support y'all gave us. We understand that a lot of time and money and a lot of work went into getting this building for us, and it really was a dream come true. So we brought about like 60, 70 people just to say thanks, to you guys, because without y'all, this probably wouldn't happen. And I don't know how familiar you guys are with UTEC, but like he said, it stands for the United Teen Equality Center. Helps out a lot of kids ages 13 to 23 in a lot of different ways. Me being one of them myself, I think UTEC has probably helped me out in every way possible. Right now, I'm gonna turn it over to another member of UTEC, and he's gonna speak real quick.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Richie Bryan. I'm a UTEC member, and I've been there throughout the whole transition between the buildings. And the whole time I've been there, the one thing that I just love about it is that I can go there and I can feel safe, and I'm safe from just gangs, violence, and just all types of trouble. Just everything there is just, and I just came here to thank all of you, just to help that cause and just help everybody here get that feeling, and I'd take it as an honor if I could work with the city council, the mayor, anybody here, if I could help out you guys, or we can do anything for you guys. And thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager of the full city council. Not all of us are going to speak, so this is it. I'm the last speaker. I just want to, again, we're really here today just to thank everybody. We really feel very, really appreciative of the fact that we have a city council that's so connected to what we're doing. We can approach you on different issues, different concerns, and tonight we're here just simply to say thank you. We wouldn't be here without the support of the city of Lowell. UTEC first started through the Enterprise Community Grant, through CDBG money, and really most importantly, to the partnership we have, whether it be DPD helping us find locations, or the police department helping us partner with gang violence, the school department now working on a new alternative school program. We've really been fortunate to have a true partnership that's gone beyond even financial. And obviously the money, we're appreciative of that as well. We have a new building that's coming up. It's going to be, it's on 34 Hurd Street. It's the St. Paul's Methodist Church, and we're renovating that. It's going to be a big campaign. We're going to be building an addition to it. It's going to be a major campaign that's going to last probably a good year, 2 years. But again, we wouldn't be here today. We wouldn't have been able to move from Merrimack Street to Hurd Street, which is an ideal location for us, without the support of the council and all the departments of the city of Lowell. So we want to say thank you. We want to invite you. We have an event coming up next Thursday. If you want to come and see the building and see really the progress and what's going on, it's next Thursday night from 5:30 to 8:30. And again, we're just here to say thank you, and we appreciate all that the city has done for us. And I'm sorry, I just have to take the opportunity, since everybody's on TV and they love LTC cable access. I just want to say thank you to all of the teens here, because they were the ones I would be slapped if I didn't say this. They were the ones who helped us from the very beginning with all of the design work, between the design meetings, the architecture, demoing walls, taking floors apart, and now they're organizing a big event next week. So I want to say thank you, while we're on TV, to all the young people that were here as well. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, the next agenda item are approval of the minutes of the March 27th meeting. Motion to approve by Councilor Caulfield, seconded by Councilor Armin Mercier. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Under unfinished business, we have a vote declaring surplus a portion of the property located at 104 West Meadow Road, also known as 40 West Meadow Road, and establish a minimum bid price of $230,000. Okay. All right. We did the first reading of this last week, second reading by title, a vote declaring surplus the portion of the property at 104 West Meadow Road, also known as 40 West Meadow Road, Lowell, Mass., and authorizing the city manager to seek proposals under the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 30B, for disposition of said parcel, namely a portion of 104 West Meadow Road, also known as 40 West Meadow Road. There may have been some members of the public that wanted to speak on this. I know we did get a couple calls to the clerk's office. No one had signed up, but is there anybody who wished to be heard on this? Yes.
I'm Dorothy Bickling, and I'm a resident of 19 Patriot Way, and you might want to say, well, what does West Meadow have to do with me? This property is really in my backyard. The property that I live in was developed as Hickory Hills and was developed just several years ago. It was required by the developer that the back area of my lot was retained as a retention area to preserve the wetlands that we're speaking of by the brook. So if you look out my back door, you see the retention area, the wetlands, the brook, the wetlands on the other side, and then you see Rita Street. So it is in my backyard. I have a lot of concern about the impingement on the wetlands and is it the possibility of making a development in this area. So it's a grave concern of mine, and I've invited my neighbor here also, so I will let Larry Bean, my neighbor on Patriot Way, also speak. Larry.
I thank you, Mayor Martin, City Councilors, City Manager. I just wanted to say a few things. I appreciate the financial crisis that the city is in, and I applaud the City Manager for what he's trying to do by selling off these things. But I do want to let you know that your actions do affect a number of people. And I know nothing was done on purpose or anything, but when you advertise it at 40 West Meadow or 104 West Meadow, it really is very difficult to find that. I actually read the article in the paper and attempted to find this property on Sunday, and I had no idea where it was. But it just came to my attention about 4 hours ago that this actually was taking place. I also live on Patriot Way. I did receive quite a bit of information tonight with the help of the Assistant City Manager and some of the City Councilors to explain exactly what was taking place tonight. I'm very concerned about the additional area, meaning the approximately, the plan in front of you, I don't know exactly the square footage of it, if that is to remain in conservation, that area of the land. I do have concerns about the buildable lot that you're putting up for sale today, both for the same concerns as my neighbor also has. But I suppose what you're doing is making it available for a builder, and that builder will then have to go in front of conservation and get whatever permits he has. But I just wanted to make the council aware that the decision that they do make tonight affects not only people on Rita Street or Jean Dark Street, that it affects quite a few people, because it is in fact in our backyard. This portion is actually right across the street from my house. And I just hope that you take that into consideration when you're voting tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mead.
Thank you. My name is John Hamblett, 495 Varnum Avenue. I am also not scheduled to speak on this issue tonight. I would like to send a handout out to the City Council, if I may. So one page from the Lowell Master Plan.
On this issue or not on this issue?
It is on this
Okay.
issue. This is page 38 of the City of Lowell Master Plan, Table 2-8, and it explains the fiscal impact of residential developments in Lowell. Specifically, items number 1 and number 2 are concerned with 10-lot subdivisions of 3-bedroom single-family homes in Pawtucketville. And in fact, the only difference between rows 1 and 2 is an assumption in average household size. For those of you here who do not have a copy of the spreadsheet, a family with 3.3 people, which is the average in the 2000 census, I believe, uses educational and municipal services that cost about what they are paying in taxes. So if you go all the way across, you will see that the financial impact of a 10-lot subdivision is break even. A family with 2.8 persons would make a contribution of, and let me clarify this, it says $2,000 to $6,000. It is my understanding that the low range is appropriate given the local aid cuts, and that's for 10 homes. So the financial impact per home of a 3-bedroom single-family house in Pawtucketville is plus $200. Now for a lesson I learned when I bought my first car and I had to push it home. Always read and understand the fine print. If you please look at the bottom of that page, this is taken directly from the Lowell Master Plan, and look at the second sentence, you'll see it says, scenarios do not assume any municipal capital construction of new schools, fire stations, etc. I contacted the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Office of Environmental Affairs, who apparently is the EOEA, and they tell me the etc. includes water, sewers, road construction, and maintenance, all of which I'm assuming are fairly important in a housing development. Today in Pawtucketville, our schools are bursting at the seams. We are leasing additional classrooms. We stretch the limits of our police force, and our secondary roads get shoveled last. We don't even have sidewalks on many of our streets. Of course, further house building will incur capital costs. With these facts in hand, I would encourage you to stop and evaluate the real cost of the fire sale of surplus land for housing development. Ask yourself this question: how much will the construction of each new home cost my constituents in new additional taxes? And is it really worth it just to make a quick buck? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone further on this issue? Councilor Rita Mercier.
If there's nobody else ready to speak, I asked to delay this vote specifically to get more information on it, and I think we all did that, because if you notice, the vote is a little bit different this week. It all is the same goal, but the square footage is a lot different. It's defined. What we did learn this week through this delay was that 57,000 square feet located at the end of Rita Street is what is being declared surplus by this vote, and that the city will retain ownership still of 260,000 square feet. And this is very important to say, to ensure future unrestricted access to the wetland and the preservation of this wetland resource, and I think that's very important. That, to me, is very important. But there is also another plus, that if there is a developer that comes forward, I know that by declaring it, like Mr. Bean did say, that when a developer does come forward, and you have to go before the Conservation Commission and the Zoning Board, and there'll be restrictions, the abutters will be notified, and they'll tell you what you can build or what you can't build, and I'm sure that they'll follow the law. But another plus is if there is a developer, this vote will allow for a developer to have Rita Street residents and St. John d'Arc Street residents able to have the opportunity to tie into city sewer lines. I remember many years ago, there was a family on Rita Street that asked if they could be a part of the sewer tie-in, and at the time, we were going to tie in certain areas of the city by the largest amount of people that would benefit, not the smallest amount, and there'd be 3 or 4 families on the street, they would have probably been last. So here's an opportunity now for them to be able to tie in, that the burden would be put with the survey, the design, and the 400 feet of construction would be there for the developer and the builder. So having more information, I'm in favor of this. Thank you for the delay.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Caulfield?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. As I indicated last week, it was a double-edged sword. And, Mr. Manager, this is approximately 1.3 acres of what we're selling.
Correct.
Approximately 7 homes will be built there? 7 or less?
Excuse me, 5 homes.
5 homes. Okay, the gentleman brought up an interesting point here. Who's going to pay for the installation of water, sewer, roads, and so forth?
The developer would do that.
The developer will do that.
And as I think Councilor Mercier has pointed out, the water and road improvements will benefit the people on Rita Street that have asked for these improvements in the past.
Now, a majority of the land is wetland, so it cannot be built. Are we going to get some kind of a covenant that says that you can't build on that wetlands? Is that part of the
I believe
vote?
that's in the vote here.
Wouldn't it be state law?
It would be state law for the regarding the wetlands, but
Well, the city will retain ownership of that 260,000 square feet, so there won't be any building on it. It'll still remain the city's property as it is today.
Okay. Damn if you do, damn if you don't. But right now, we're not receiving any tax money on this property right now. $230,000 for 57,000 square feet of land. Okay. That's all I have to say right now. I'll let my colleagues discuss the issue.
Councilor Broderick, Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do we have approximate values in terms of what would be the cost to the city of installing up to 400 feet of water and sewer lines? You're talking about, excuse me, public improvements, basically widening Rita Street and making these public improvements. Do we have an idea what that would cost the city?
If we were to do that
Yes.
ourselves, I don't have a figure on that. I would guess it would be somewhere in the couple $100,000 range.
Okay, because we don't know for the square, like a certain 1,000 per foot or something, isn't there?
There is a number for that,
Okay.
but we don't.
I'm just trying to, because the point was made that this is going to, it actually could, based on these statistics here, cost the city some money, and I'm trying to figure out what, so we're going to get the improvements, and it's an RFP, so we get to review, or the city reviews the bids to determine the best reuse, not just the highest number, highest units, or whatever someone can maximize for profit, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Councilor, not to interrupt you, there is a memo from the DPW director in the packet of things here that at least puts an estimate on the cost of the sewer connection, that they estimate 135 to 150,000. Doesn't get into the road work, but
Okay, because the road itself, I think, will be substantial as well, correct?
That's
Widening and then, okay. That's all I have right now, thank you.
I just think the $200,000 figure is very conservative. It could be a lot more than that.
Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I understand that the intent of the motion by Councilor Rita Mercier to, and I do agree with disposing of land, city-owned land, particularly if it's tax foreclosure or the yard sale program. But I'm not going to support this tonight, and the reason is sort of stated by the earlier speaker. Single-family homes do not really generate revenue. They do, but the offsets are in the expenses with school, additional police, additional fire. And I think that we need to start conserving some of the land that we have. I know that Councilor Milanazzo 3 weeks ago brought in a conservation restriction on 520 Varnum Ave. I don't know how many acres it is, but it's significant. I just don't think that we need to be developing every square inch of land that we have in the city. I understand you brought this forward, Mr. Manager, as a result of wanting to dispose some of this land, but if you walk this area, if you look at the location, there's a very steep grade, and I don't know what the development is going to look like, but I just fear that it's not going to be what we want it to be. So I understand it's, we can get some money, but on this one, I just don't have a feeling, nor do I think it's going to be beneficial to the neighborhood. And this is news that to me, that Rita Street and Jeanne d'Arc need tie-ins, and if that's what we need to do, we should be accommodating this. But to put 3 to 5 more houses in that section of the city just doesn't make sense to me. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Milanazzo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had an opportunity this morning to actually meet with Jane Calvin from Conservation Trust, and I think that the vote before us tonight is obviously different from last week, and I don't want to speak for Jane, but she was pleased that the city did cull out the majority of the parcel and is leaving about 260,000 square feet as open space, and she actually hopes, and I'd be happy to bring a motion forward, that the remaining land be set aside as official conservation land in the future. So based upon that, I'm prepared to support this. I understand why the planning department is bringing it forward. I do respect the residents of Pawtucketville, and I understand their concerns, but at the same time, I think that looking at it from the city as a whole, I think we need to try to identify revenue for the community. And again, the vote is completely different from last week, so I am prepared to support it this evening based upon my conversation with Jane Calvin. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Armin Mercier.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Excuse me for my sore throat, but I have to concur with Councilor Elliott's position on this. First of all, when you look at what we've got before us, the 57,000 square feet, although it's probably legally okay to be built on, it's awfully close to wetlands. There's going to have to be some work done on Rita Street, Jeanne d'Arc Street, that I think is going to upset that neighborhood. I think when you're talking about putting in sewers and water lines in order to accommodate this particular piece of property, you're also going to be looking at road construction of some sort, sidewalks that go all the way to Columbia Road, and I don't think the end result is going to benefit the city in terms of the amount of money we're going to get for it. So I'm not going to support this. I think that we need to now start looking at some properties that we have that should remain open space. And I don't think that this one here should fall by the wayside, particularly when you see the close proximity to the stream of water that we see before us. Now, although the remaining lot area will remain in the throes of the city of Lowell, this particular spot that's going to maybe produce 4 to 5 homes, I think is just going to upset that entire neighborhood. So I'm not prepared to support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone further?
Yes.
Councilor Coffey.
I just want to address the memo. The 3 homes on Jeanne d'Arc Street, and there's 4 homes on Rita Street. There were seven families. Mr. Manager, will those people be able to have sewage now if this goes through?
Yes, they will.
So there were 7 people going to benefit by this because right now they don't have city sewage.
That's correct.
They'll have to pay the cost to tie into the sewer, but
And as it's pointed out in the memo, they'll have the cost of a grinder pump system that they'll have to install, but they will now have access to the sewer system.
Which they don't have now.
That's correct.
There.
Could I ask a question? Anyone object for me asking a question? It wasn't clear, Mr. Manager, from the memo whether the sewer upgrades would be available on Jean d'Arc Street as well, or if it was just limited to Rita Street. Is it in fact both?
You'll be both, will be both streets, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Elliott?
What is the time frame? Because I know that there was discussion earlier, or maybe last week, that, we don't know if we're going to get any bidders on this. What is the time frame attached to this? Because we shouldn't, presumably we will get bidders, but if we don't, people on Jean d'Arc and Rita should know that we should address, their issues if this doesn't go through.
Well, we would look to put this out to bid and probably look at a 30-day period to bid this out.
We were actually thinking perhaps a little bit longer, Mr. Manager, because in fact, with the housing market the way it is right now, this is speculative because there is a fair amount of infrastructure that would be the responsibility of the developer. We might need a little bit more time than the average RFP would be out.
You'll keep us abreast. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any further questions or comments? Roll call.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
No.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Armand Mercia?
No.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
7 yeas, 2 nays.
7 yeas, the vote's approved. All right, the next item is a public hearing. An ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, with respect to Appendix A thereof, entitled Lowell Zoning Ordinance, by amending various sections. First reading was given last week. The second reading, we'll open the public hearing for those wishing to speak in favor of these zoning amendments. Anybody wishing to speak in favor?
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager, members of the City Council, my name is Richard Souza. I'm the chairman of the Pawtuckaville Citizens Council. I'm also a member of the Citizens Advisory Committee that developed a master plan for the Pawtuckaville area. As a group, the Pawtuckaville Citizens Council E-Board and the Citizens Advisory Committee are in favor of all of these changes. Specifically, the floor area ratio from 0.5 to 0.35. It was a tough call at the Citizens Advisory Committee because some members wanted 0.2 and 0.25. So 0.35 was a compromise. People on that committee will not be disappointed if you see it to bring it down to 0.3 as the planning board has recommended. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak in favor? In favor?
Councilors, Mr. Mayor, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Richard Carville. I live at 55 Trotting Park Road. I am the co-chairman of the Pawtuckaville Citizens Council, but I'm speaking tonight just as a private citizen on this ordinance. I've read through these, and I think this ordinance goes a long way to putting some important safeguards in to protect our neighborhoods. I'm really pleased with what I see here, and I think the planning board has done a really good job on this, and I would like to see the city council pass this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak in favor of the ordinance?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is still John Hamblett. I still live at 495 Varnum Avenue. First of all, you might be wondering why Pawtuckaville and its citizens are so concerned about minute detail, such as floor area ratio. Obviously, even the firemen are worried about it. According to Lowell's master plan, about 1/3 of all the potential developable land is in western Pawtuckaville. Let me say that again. 1/3 of all the potential developable land in Lowell is in western Pawtucketville. So changes that affect single-family dwellings have a major impact on us. Secondly, Pawtucketville is entering a cycle much like that of downtown Lowell. Older homes are being torn down and new replacements are built. This only compounds the effect of single-family dwelling zone changes. Now, I'm not an architect or a planner, and I've heard several explanations of floor area ratio, but the one that makes the most sense to me is that a house with a floor area ratio of 0.5 or 1/2 on a typical 10,000 square foot lot in Pawtucketville would be a 5,000 square foot house. And that's a huge house. Now, out in the middle of an acre lot, it might look very nice. But on a 10,000 square foot lot with a single story cape right next door, it is simply out of proportion. It's out of proportion with the lot and out of proportion with the character of our post-war neighborhood. I understand the planning board last night is forwarding the recommendation to lower the floor area ratio even further to a possibility of 0.30. And we still don't include other space in the house that has the potential for development, such as garages. As my representatives to government, I am asking that if you can do so tonight, lower the floor area ratio to 0.30. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak in favor of the ordinance? In favor? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Councilor Donahue?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What is the planning board's recommendation? Are they recommending to reduce it to 0.30 because...
We do have a communication from the planning board. Why don't
did we just get
we
that?
have that's on the desk this evening. Why don't we hear from Mr. Proakis about that?
Sure. The communication is arriving on your desk this evening because the planning board actually took this up in their public hearing last night. So this is fresh off the press from last night. They recommended approval. They recommended that the council look at 3 items that they had further concern about. The first item, we're dealing with the definition on takeout restaurant. They wanted a sentence added to that definition that absolutely clarified that the only place where drive-thrus are allowed in takeout restaurants is areas where they're allowed today. The sentence was written clearly. The additional sentence added to the end of it would make it even more clear. The second recommendation they made was considering additional reduction in the floor area ratio number in the suburban single-family and traditional single-family district from 0.35, which was the recommendation that the planning department made and that the zoning subcommittee accepted when we first put the package together, to 0.30. The 0.35 number that came out of the process, just to give you the background of it, it's based upon a number that calculates the difference between the floor area of a house and the area of the total lot. The floor area of a house as defined in our zoning is quite a bit different, though, than the floor area defined usually by an appraiser or even by our own assessor's office, because we do include attic areas and basement areas, but as Mr. Hamlet said correctly, we don't include garage areas that may potentially be developed. So sometimes a house that's advertised as a 2,800 square foot house for sale may actually come out as 3,600 square feet by our definition. So the 0.35 number was based upon a number that we felt comfortable about relating to that. The third comment that was made by the planning board was amending section 632 dealing with signs for ballparks. They recommended some additional language about sign size, material, and means of affixing the sign to the fence. The reason we left that out of the ordinance is because all of the ballparks in question, this issue, are under the control of our Board of Parks, and they're going to have to take a look at this process in the Parks Department as well to approve the actual signs that go up. So to give them a reasonable amount of flexibility, we wrote the ordinance that would allow the signs to go up with the understanding that they could establish additional procedures and policies to address the particular issue of, one of the concepts that was a concern is if a kid backs up and falls into a sign that isn't the right material for being able to catch a fly ball right on that line, and whether or not that's appropriate. And rather than trying to package all of that into zoning, we felt more comfortable leaving that to the Parks Department and the Board of Parks to try to work out the solution to. So those are the three comments. The letter is there. The ordinance is attached. There is a sheet on the back that describes the 9 changes that are actually in this ordinance in a little bit clearer language if anybody has other questions.
Thank you. Councilor Donahue?
So the changes to the ordinance as advertised as a result of the planning board meeting would be those 3 that Mr. Proix just explained, correct?
No.
Well,
go ahead.
We'd have to amend it.
Well, we'd have to amend it. For
the-
example, the .30 versus .35 would have to amend the ordinance.
If the council was interested in taking up any of those 3 issues, they'd have to amend the ordinance to take up the planning board's recommendation.
Okay.
So,
Well, and I'm happy to hear what everybody else has to say on this, but, obviously, but it does seem to me that the recommendation of the planning board as far as the reduction to .30 does make some sense. I hear what you're saying, that the attic and so forth are counted for planning purposes, where they may not be for assessing purposes. But, for example, some of these houses have huge garages, and if that's not going to be counted, on these small lots, that could dwarf some of the houses, just contiguous. So, personally, I have no problem with the recommendation of the planning board as far as that particular section, reducing it to .30 from .35, just in light of what we've seen for some developments in the city. And if, the area is one that if these oversized houses were put on 10,000 square foot lots, it could affect the character of the neighborhood. So, I would make that by way of a motion, I guess. But I'll wait until I hear, from my colleagues what their thoughts are. But that's where I'm coming from. I don't have a problem with following the planning board recommendation on that one point.
Thank you. Councilor Broderick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Excuse me. I actually had a couple of questions that Mr. Proakis just referenced, and really is the .35 versus the .30. And Councilor Donahue made a good point with garages. Sometimes there's large garages added on. My understanding, I'm on the subcommittee, obviously, so we've had this discussion, is that it's measured differently than the assessors, in that this was a number, the .35 was a number that you thought would capture most of the concerns, I guess, without naming projects, but the concerns that have come to the planning department.
I think it would be safe to say that some of the most egregious cases of large houses on small lots that we have seen recently would not be able to go forward under the .35 number. So we captured sort of the ones that are the most significant concerns and just dropped it below that to a level where, for example, some of the more traditional colonials that are going up on 10,000 square foot lots are just under that number and would still be able to go forward. So yeah, to give you an idea, though, of what is included in that 3,500 square foot number, it includes roofed porches and balconies. It includes basement and cellar areas. It includes attic areas if they're accessible, even if they're accessible just by a hatch space. If they're completely closed off, they're not included. But a two-story house can, attic areas really if they're above 5 feet in height. So a two-story house could potentially add an entire third story of an unfinished basement and a pretty significant section of the attic with a high-pitched roof could all count towards that 3,500 square foot number. So that's where we worked it to coming to that .35 as a number that we recommended to the subcommittee at that point in time.
What is it now, if I could?
It's .5 right now. So we're taking it from 5,000 on a 10,000 square foot lot to 3,500. And that's in relationship to a 10,000 square foot lot. Obviously, if you had twice the lot area, you could still build twice the house.
Right. Now, is there, there's other, obviously, zoning requirements. Is there anything else that would protect us from some type of situation where there's a huge garage built off of it? In terms of, would that be cut by some type of other side yard setback, or it can't be in the rear? Or, I mean, what are there other scenarios that, or that would, or there are other areas in the zoning that could help capture these potential pitfalls of, say, a large garage that isn't counted?
Well, there are a few. One is the side yard and rear yard setbacks of a project, which basically, particularly in the suburban single-family neighborhood where you're have to be at least 10, and a sum of the two side yards have to be 25 feet from your next neighbor. So usually there's a 20-foot buffer between houses in that district to start with, because you have at least 10 feet on each side. There's some other regulations in here about if you build a detached garage, that the outside building can't be more than a certain percentage of the size of the house as a whole. I can't remember what that ratio is, but you basically can't build a garage that's twice the size of your house. So those regulations are already in place and already protecting those single-family neighborhoods.
Okay. I mean, obviously, being chairman on the subcommittee, I recommend approving it, so I would, I'd support the 0.35. I think that it's what it's going to capture because of the different measurements, I guess, or way of adding the measurements. Anything with a pull-down ceiling, you're going to capture the living area in the attic and basements, which are not typically counted for real estate brokerage and so on. So I think a lot of the projects that we've heard complaints about may be advertised as 2,800 or 2,300 square feet, but actually for planning and development purposes would be over the 35 and would be prohibited. So I would. I think I'd go ahead and support this, but I look forward to hearing from everyone else.
Thank you. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As Councilor Broderick mentioned, that the zoning subcommittee has been working on these additional, pardon me, these additional amendments, if you will, to the ordinance. And I'm going to support the 9, naturally, because we recommended them, because they continue to place additional restrictions and regulations on the zoning ordinance that we adopted a couple of years ago. I'm also going to support I second Councilor Donohue's motion to support reducing or increasing the ratio to the lot area. The recommendation was 0.35, and I always thought that we should reduce it further. So it's 0.30. That's a good idea. And I'm going to support it. There are also an amendment on the advertising for sign regulations, primarily for little league fields, excuse me, and ballparks, and that makes sense to make sure that these signs are safely hung and they're made of the appropriate materials. And then of course I'm going to support the 3rd recommendation, which again helps tighten up the zoning code. So I appreciate the planning board looking at this. There are still more recommendations coming. We're supposed to meet next week on another set of zoning amendments to, again, look at the weaknesses in the zoning code that we revamped, and to close these loopholes that the developers know that we don't. So this is good work by DPD and Mr. Prowakis and the planning board, and it'll help our neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Armin Mercier.
Yes, I'd just like to pose a question to Mr. Prowakis. I kind of agree the recommendation by the planning board as it relates to the floor area ratio of 0.3. Do you have a problem with that?
I am only concerned that the way we looked at this and studied it, we concluded that the 0.35 caught the most significant items of concern. The 0.3 may capture a number of more modest-sized homes that it may downsize some people's homes. It may also limit the ability for people to put additions on some modest-sized homes at this point. And I am somewhat concerned that the difference between the 0.35 and the 0.3 could potentially capture a number of things that wouldn't necessarily have the egregious impacts on a neighborhood that some of the things in the 0.4, 0.45 range were having before.
There's no doubt that the .35 is capturing a lot, but
Yeah.
the 0.3 would capture more.
It would certainly make more larger homes or expansions of homes not possible in the suburban and traditional single-family districts. We felt the .35 was a number we were pretty comfortable with in terms of what it stopped and what it didn't, and the .3 is just a little bit more of a concern because we haven't necessarily captured what impact that might have on some projects that aren't necessarily a significant concern to people right now.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, is there a motion on the floor to reduce the floor area to 0.3?
I don't believe it's been made yet. Is that, Councilor?
Well, for the record, I'll make to adopt the recommendation to change the floor area to .30. The recommendation of the planning board.
Just procedure, we have this recommendation from the planning board. So the motion should be to adopt, 1, 2, or 3, or all.
My motion would be to adopt all 3.
All the recommendations of the planning board, second by Councilor Elliott. So yes, Councilor, I guess now there is a motion on the floor on that issue.
Well, the problem I have is I agree with the number 2, but the recommendation as it relates to signs that now comes under the jurisdiction of the Parks Department made a lot of sense to me. But if the only way I can get the floor area ratio down to 0.3, then I would also support the recommendation of the planning board.
Well, I suppose we could take them separately if there's there's no objection to doing that.
That makes sense.
Okay. Councilor Milanazzo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you know, I'm a member of the zoning subcommittee, and we did have hearings on these issues before us this evening. And I have to tell you, I have a lot of faith in the planning department bringing these forward. I also have a great deal of respect for the planning board, but I have to say that based upon their recommendation going from 0.35 down to 0.3, I'm not sure that I could build a house I'm in Lowell based upon that. If you use the basement area and then the first and second floor in my garage, I'd be up over 0.33. So again, I understand the logic behind what they're attempting to do. I just am concerned that it's just going to further restrict our ability. I think going from 0.5 to 0.35 made an awful lot of sense, continues to make a lot of sense, but I'm actually not going to support the planning board's recommendation because of the fact that I think that the planning department has studied this thoroughly, and I think it's a good recommendation coming out of the planning department. The other two recommendations from the planning board, the first one dealing with the restaurant takeout is fine. The ballpark signage probably does, as Councilor Armand Mercy indicated, probably does belong with the parks.
Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I can ask Mr. Perokas, please.
Sure, yes.
George, you indicated that the 3.5 home, the square foot of that home, you probably take into consideration the attic, the basement, and areas that wouldn't be really part of the living
the strategy is
part of the house.
Is that it counts areas that could become living areas in the future. So it includes basements that could be finished and sort of the higher end of an attic area that could be finished. But yes, typically those are not finished in the house.
But if you exclude those areas, the attic, the basement, and so forth,
yes,
you're probably looking at a house that's around 2,600 square feet of living space.
That would the 0.35 would probably be around 2,700
Right.
square feet of actual living
Now you
space.
can revert to a home such as this, or a small cape, and things of that nature, and you could probably build 2 small capes on that. That's what we want to get away from, right?
Well, that's and in these single-family districts, you can't
Right,
do anything
right.
like that right now.
You know, I have much faith and confidence in the DPD and your work and the subcommittee work. They've worked hard and tirelessly on this issue.
I'm going to ask.
And it's another issue where it's a double-edged sword, and you have to make a decision. What is best for the entire city? And I would support what's in front of me. So, thank you.
Councilor Rita Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There are 3 items from the zoning board before us tonight. 1, 3, and 5. Could we separate and leave the one that's controversial separately and just vote first for the ballpark and the sit-down restaurant 1 and 3? Could we vote that and then the other one, the ratio, separate?
I think, Council, we're going to vote them all separately.
Or we're going to do that separately?
Number 3 is not without its controversy itself. Right. And in fact, the solicitors express some concern about number 3 because the language is not before us unless, Mr. Proakis, you've prepared alternative language in number 3.
I have not prepared alternative language for number 3, and my concern with it is indeed that that as the recommendation comes forward, it's not in an ordinance form. If I may recommend a suggestion, if the council is interested in the issues of number 3, we could package that into the next set of ordinance changes, but it may make sense to go forward with adopting a regulation that allows the ballpark sign now, and if you're interested in having more specific regulation of it in zoning, we could address that at a later date in a more specific ordinance form.
Right.
Okay. Councilor Mercia has the floor.
Well, we'll do them 3 separately or whatever, but I'd like to just table number 3 until we get it better understood. But we could vote for the ballpark now and the other one separately.
That's number 3.
All right.
I'm confused.
We do that?
Councilor Donahue.
Well, number 3, the ballpark is the one that we need further work on, right?
Well, there's a present proposal
right
in these regulations.
But that's not in the ordinance.
It is. It's the planning board changes that aren't in the ordinance.
That's what I mean, the changes. All right, let me ask this question to Mr. Proakis. The number 2 regarding lowering the square foot, the floor ratio to 0.30. And does it make any sense to give this back to planning, and not to give you more work, but just to see what that effect is? I mean, you had indicated earlier that you didn't study that part in terms of what is that change from 0.35 to 0.30? What in effect would be the change? Does that make sense before we vote on that, to give it back to planning so we can see what the practical effect is?
Sure. One thing I would be happy to do is take some actual examples, bring them back to the next subcommittee meeting, and look at what those differences do. And then if the council wishes to either adopt the 0.35 or hold off on any changes until that's done, we're ready to schedule another subcommittee meeting so we can keep looking at that.
I mean, I'm not trying to give more work to, Mr. Proakis, but it does make sense. This is a legitimate issue. If we can see, as a practical matter, what is the difference of that change? What type of projects would be affected? Then maybe we can make a more informed decision on that. So I know there's a motion on the floor, so I guess I'll...
Suppose you could withdraw
Substitute?
Okay, I could withdraw the
withdraw the
motion.
motion.
Let me withdraw the motion, given that we have at least 2 of the 3 up in the air. How are we on the drive-through restaurants? Anybody have any Dunkin' Donuts here? So.
All right, Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One of the things, Mr. Proakis, if you could give us a breakdown also, is because there seems to be, I don't want to say confusion, but maybe misunderstanding, or we don't really know. The 0.3, what is that actually going to allow someone to build on 10,000 square feet in terms of living area, average? I mean, I know different designs, and we can talk about garages and how that can be caught in other areas, but if 3,000 square feet is going to limit you to a 1,900 square foot house, we should know that, and if it's going to be 2,600 square feet, we should know that. But if we could get some of that also, do we need a motion?
Well, I think, let me tell you what the motion should be. We have to do something with this communication from the planning board. So I would suggest that we adopt recommendation number 1 from the planning board and refer items 2 and 3 back to the zoning subcommittee for further study. So moved by Councilor Broderick.
Sure.
Seconded by Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just wondering if the approval of the planning board requires any, for us to take action under any particular time frame in order for the ordinance to take effect, or will the changes, if any, have to go back to the planning board, or do they stay with the council now?
Stay with the council.
I believe they stay here with us now. They've asked us to consider lowering the FAR to 3, and they've asked us to consider some additional language, and those items are going to be considered, so they're consistent with the planning board recommendation.
Thank you.
Okay. So that first vote is to act on the planning board recommendation. Is there a request for a roll call on that vote? All those in favor of that action on the planning board recommendation, which is to accept number 1 and refer items 2 and 3 to the zoning subcommittee for further study and evaluation. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is approved. The next vote is on the ordinance itself. Motion to approve by Councilor Milonazo, seconded by Councilor Broderick. Roll call.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, the ordinance is approved, and we will continue to look at those additional 2 issues. Okay, next item on the agenda are communications from the city manager, responses to various council motions and requests. Any questions or comments concerning those communications? Council Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, thank you for communicating with me about the home on Westford Street that was destroyed by fire, and I'm very happy with the results. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments concerning motions from the city manager? Councilor Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, I also want to thank you for the communication on my motion regarding Stellaris, and I was just wondering if you had a sense of their time frame, and or if you know how many jobs the company is looking to create. Did you have any of those discussions?
Sure. Actually, they're looking to ramp up over the next 3 to 6 months. They're going to start out small. They certainly, like a number of companies, have high hopes for expansion, but we're talking about a handful of jobs to start off.
But they would need the 20,000 square feet, is that what?
Correct.
And you're working with them on that?
We are, yep, and we will have follow-up, continuing conversations with them as well.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Any other issues under communications from the city manager? Okay, motion to accept the communications placed on file by Councilor Ramirez, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The communications are accepted. Next item, communications concerning requests for out-of-state travel. Dear Mayor and Councilors, attached, please find a travel request from Ken LaValle, Acting Police Superintendent, to send 3 employees of the Lowell Police Department out of state to an intelligence sharing and criminal activity trend meeting. The dates are April 3rd through April 5th, and funds to cover this request will come from the Southeast Asian Task Force grant. The second item is a request from Frank Singleton, Health Director, to send 1 employee of the Lowell Health Department to attend the Public Health Disasters Conference. The conference will take place in Torrance, California, May 6th through May 9th. Funds for this request come from the CDC Bioterrorism and Influenza Public Health Grant. I believe those are the only 2. Motion to approve by Councilor Rita Mercia, second by Councilor Broderick. Roll call, please.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
9 yeas, the communication is approved. Next item is appointments to the Hunger Homeless Commission. Dear Mayor and City Councilors, pursuant to the authority vested in me as City Manager under Chapter 382 of the Acts of 1991 and the Code of the City of Lowell, Section 2-120, I am appointing the following to the Hunger Homeless Commission for 2-year terms expiring April 3rd, 2009, or until such time thereafter as a successor is appointed. Deb Duxbury, 24 House Street, Lowell. Alan Richardson from the American Red Cross of 24 House Street, Lowell, and Yvonne Zinicola, all 3 are from the American Red Cross, 24 House Street, Lowell. Under the above referenced ordinance, confirmation by the City Council is not required. I'd be happy to answer any inquiries you may have. Questions or comments? Motion to approve the communication placed on file by Councilor Milonazo, seconded by Councilor Ramirez. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The communication is accepted. Next item is communication concerning appointments to the Cemetery Commission. Dear Mayor and Councilors, please be advised I am reappointing Gerard P. Largay of 9 Mount Grove Street, Lowell, to the Cemetery Commission for a new 5-year term effective March 22nd, 2007, expiring March 22nd, 2012. Council confirmation is not required. This letter is notification of such reappointment. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Any questions?
No, but
Motion to accept the communication
Good
placed on
choice.
file by Councilor Rita Mercier.
Get a cowboy hat with that?
Seconded by Councilor Armin Mercier. All those in favor say aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? The communication is accepted. Next item is a order for a 60-day trial for a handicap parking sign at 77 Crosby Street. An order pursuant to Chapter 13 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, concerning Section 13-6 thereof, entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations. Temporary regulations are hereby implemented for a period of 60 days. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Elliott. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The first full reading is waived. Second reading by title, an order pursuant to Chapter 13 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, concerning Section 13-6 thereof, entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations. Temporary traffic regulations are hereby implemented for a period of 60 days. Any questions?
no,
Roll call.
thank you.
Councilor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercier.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercier.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas. Vote is approved. Subcommittee reports. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Finance Subcommittee met this evening regarding a number of items that had been referred to it previously. It was televised prior to this meeting. The first item that the Finance Subcommittee took up was the utility account analysis that had been requested. The manager and Mr. Moses gave us an analysis and update as to where we are. This is one of the items in the budget that we need to track closely because it's one of the larger costs. So with that, Mr. Manager, Mr. Moses, you prepared this report. The long and the short of it is that our costs have gone up, and we know that. There were adjustments made in the FY07 budget. We looked at fuel for the vehicles, we looked at electricity and natural gas, and the bad news is that they are going up. The good news is that they haven't, there are no deficits in those three accounts. There are in certain departments, but there are offsets, so we are still on budget. So, Mr. Manager, Mr. Moses, would you like to elaborate anything further on that?
Well, I think, Councilor, I think you described it fully, and as you recall, the council will recall back in December when we made the necessary budget adjustments and budget changes, we had to increase a number of lines because the budget that was approved back in June of 2006 didn't adequately cover some of the anticipated costs in some of those accounts. We also had a situation where a number of budgets we ran short in a number of budgets or departmental budgets last June and carried over costs into fiscal year 07, so we had to make adjustments for that. So I think the changes that we made at that time and some of the actions we've taken to save some costs with some of our procurement practices have made it possible for us to, it appears that we're going to be able to make it through 2007 on target. As you pointed out, a number of the lines are running a little short, but we also are running a little ahead in some others, so it will all balance out. But it continues to be an area that we're continuing to look at and find ways, or try to find ways to cut some of those costs, and through conservation measures and, again, alternative procurement methods.
Mr. Moses? Okay, yep. And I think that's important to note that we are looking at ways of reducing or at least stabilizing some of those costs through alternative measures, and that would include, multi-year agreements, locking in a rate for gas, for propane, natural gas, or cost per kilowatt of electricity, so that there is some stability with these costs, of course, based on usage, as well as reducing vehicle use. So those are something that we're looking at. The next item the subcommittee discussed was the FY08 budget, as well as the 5-year forecast that Mr. Moses put together. I think this is an important document that will help us not only this fiscal year, but also in fiscal years to come, because it really lays out a complete picture of what our debt service is, of where our expenses are. It does build in certain assumptions that local aid will grow at a very, very conservative yet moderate rate. It includes, moderate levy increases of 2.5%. Mr. Moses did indicate, excuse me, that we still have $5 million of levy ceiling. What that means is that there's room to raise the levy, but none of us here want to do that. And I guess the last point is looking at this forecast, looking at 07, the budget, and projecting into 08. There are some significant decreases, particularly in the SBA reimbursement for the schools, to the tune of $3.5 million. That has to be made up somewhere. On the other hand, there is a reduction in debt service and debt service that the city has. Mr. Moses did indicate that he has taken the wastewater enterprise fund out, but we will be starting the year with a $3.9 million deficit. So, Mr. Manager, you clearly indicated at the Finance Subcommittee and the department heads, this is where we're starting, and I think this is where, therefore, this forecast comes in. We know where we're starting right from the beginning, and we know where we have to go, so we won't raise taxes. So, Mr. Manager.
Well, again, Councilor, I think that you've given a very good description of the presentation that we made and the situation that we find ourselves in. I think the 5-year forecast serves us well, giving us some sense of where our costs and our revenues are heading. It allows us to do multi-year planning so that we aren't surprised at any step along the way. Clearly, the biggest issue that we have in front of us right now is fiscal year 08, and it is, as you've described, a problem for us on a number of levels. First off, the issue that we see is that in our revenues, we're not seeing a tremendous amount of new growth, particularly given the, we talk, and Councilor Mercier and I, all of us talked during the subcommittee meeting regarding the developments that we're seeing in the city are certainly bringing in new tax dollars to the city, but not as high as certainly we would like. But we're continuing to plug away to get as much growth as we can. But also on the revenue side, we see that our reimbursement from the school building assistance program decreases this year because of the adjustments that have made after the audits were completed on some 14 school projects that were done in the 1990s. The biggest change that we see there is, and I think we've talked about this at other council meetings, is that the interest that the rate that the grants were based upon when the audits were completed, in fact, we did not pay that level of interest rate on the borrowings, and so they're now making the adjustments to us. There were also a number of other areas that they disallowed, that some of which were challenged by the city about a year ago, and some of which were not. We have had a meeting with the school building assistance program in the past week, in fact, and I think we're going to come to some resolution on that and get some of that money back. So I'm very hopeful and very optimistic about that, but certainly not that's going to make up that $3.5 million reduction in the reimbursement. So that's a revenue that has been there the last several years that isn't going to be there, but the debt service still remains. On the expenditure side, we're looking at one large cost increase in particular, and that's in health insurance, because that's an area that the past several years, I think the budgets have gone up about 2%. The premiums have gone up about 2%, and so naturally the budget has as well. But in fact, that's been eating away at our reserves within the health insurance trust fund. And so this year we're looking at a much larger increase in order to have the necessary funds on hand to pay the claims that come in. And we are under certain regulations as to how much we have to have on hand in that account. So that's an additional cost that we're looking at this year. So as a result of that, we have advised all of our departments to prepare their budgets with cuts. And we'll be looking at cuts somewhere in the vicinity of 4 to 5% in all of our operating budgets. And when we present that budget to you in mid-May, you're going to see that those types of cuts, unfortunately, are going to have an impact upon our service levels. At the same time, we're certainly cognizant of the fact that we need to hold the taxes at a reasonable level, and we cannot be looking at increases, large increases for the residents and the property owners here in the city. So that will all become more clear as we move forward, but I do think that the forecast is very helpful to us in the immediate, within the next few months as we do that budget, but also understanding the ramifications of all of our decisions as we go forward. If we make, if we take on new debt, that's going to ripple through the forecast going out any number of years. If we make large, if we have increases in some of our collective bargaining agreements, that's going to have implications in multiple years. All of this, every decision that we make has an impact, and we have to understand that, particularly given the amount of revenue that we have at our disposal.
That's a report of progress. There was actually one more item that was referred to the subcommittee, and that was the meals tax issue that was discussed. The manager reported that that there's been no progress on that, so there's really nothing to report on that. That will conclude the 6 items of the 06 audit: free cash, 07 budget status, energy analysis, FY8 budget and forecast, and meals tax for the Finance Subcommittee. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Caulfield?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It was an excellent meeting, and many good points were brought out. Councilor Armour Mercier brought this up about the growth, about the condominiums and the homes and so forth. So, Mr. Manager, if you could go back 3 years and just furnish the council with this information, how much new growth did we obtain over the past 3 years as far as tax dollars? And could you do that?
Sure,
It'd be enlightening. And Councilor Armour Mercier brought it out that a lot of constituents are saying, "Where's all this money that generating from and so forth?" It'd be good information for me as well as my colleagues.
Motion to accept the subcommittee report as report of progress by Councilor Broderick, second by Councilor Armin Mercier. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The report is accepted. We have 2 claims, one for property damage, one for personal injury. Motion to refer to the Law Department by Councilor Broderick, second by Councilor Caulfield. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The matters are referred to the Law Department. Under the motions, first motion is by Councilor Elliott. City Council requests the City Manager and the Arena Commission report on the attendance, ticket sales, and terms of the contract for the Lowell Devils. Second by Councilor Donahue. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, as we looked at the budget and knowing that we were faced with a $3.9 million deficit, looking at the Arena Commission and sort of hearing about the numbers and the attendance at the arena, I thought it was important to find out where are we at with the arena. We have these fixed expenses. I did get a chance to look at the contract, and I just get a sense and a feeling that the Devils are not, if not living up to the terms of the contract, living up to the spirit that they brought to the Finance Subcommittee and the council as a whole to, take the Devils and, make the arena work, if you will. And I hear reports that there are 300 people at these hockey games. And I know there are season ticket holders that they don't go, but it's not working. And that, as we look at every item in this budget, there's an area that is just, it's bleeding and, it's draining the resources that we have. So is there anything that we can do? I looked at the contract, public relations, and it's clear that they, and because that's what they sold us on. And, I voted for this contract, and as I looked at it, I wish I hadn't, quite frankly, because it's not a good contract in the best interest of the city, particularly because we rested on, we invested in what they were coming to tell us, that they were going to sell a lot more tickets, we're going to have increased their base of season ticket holders, and that was going to bring in additional revenue. By the same token, I hear that the Devils require that we live up to every term of that the city, all of our obligations, meaning there is a section in this contract that requires a certain level of staffing. And what I did read tonight is that there is a clause that in the event that a decrease in staff may be appropriate, maybe that's what we need to negotiate. There's no reason to have 7 ticket sellers, 5 ticket takers, 14 ushers, a supervisor usher, you know, well, you need an ice resurfacer, but, you know, 3 cleaning crews if there are 300 people in this arena. So, you know, there are some other things that I just think that we need to look at in this contract and sit down and work something out, because we're losing a lot of money over there, and I don't think that the Devils have lived up to their end of the bargain. I get a sense, and I think there's talk throughout the community, they're building a new arena, and they're just going to leave in a year anyway. So if that's the case, maybe we need to be proactive, because if you talk to a management company, we can make money. The SMG can make money without the Devils, and you know, we don't want to go down that road. I certainly don't want to, but you know, something has to be done to bring some revenue in. So, in any event, we've had this discussion before, but there's also a clause. I mean, how many people literally are there? And there is a clause that the turnstile meters, the commission shall maintain to record paid attendance. And I think that's, you know, where we need to be at, and ask them why they, you know, they're not marketing in a professional manner as is specifically stated in their agreement. So, Mr. Manager, and I guess the follow-up is that, you know, we're on the verge of losing UMass Lowell. That's not a good thing either. And unfortunately, one item I did see is that the Devils get 100% of the advertising in that arena, and UMass Lowell gets 0, and so does the city. So that's unfortunate, Will. So,
Mr. Manager.
Councilor, I agree with you on almost all of your points. I don't think it's necessarily the best contract for the city, but it is the contract that we have, but we have to make sure that both sides live up to their you know, their commitments. And I am presently scheduling a meeting with the Devils to go over the year-end information and determine from there what actions can or should be taken regarding that contract, and what implications that has for next year, as well as any future years beyond that. And so we'll be entering into some discussions and negotiations regarding that.
Thank you.
Councilor Donahue.
Thank you. I think this is a good motion, and it's timely because we have so many issues concerning the arena. And if there is anything or any rights we have, now is the time to assert them, not just because it's not a good deal for the city. And you know, I think, I mean, I didn't vote for the contract, but in fairness to those who did, we were sold a bill of goods that this was going to be a new day, and this was going to be, you know, a professionally advertised and putting people in the seats and bringing people to the city. And quite frankly, that has not happened. And so if there are any rights the city has, I think we should assert them, not just because we're losing money and we're subsidizing it and we're probably jeopardizing the university's team because of the arrangement in part, but because it's not just 1 more year. They have an option to renew for 2 more years after this year. And, you know, this will absolutely sink us if we're in this, you know, arrangement that is of no benefit, and if the other party is not living up to their part of the bargain. So I think it's a timely motion, and, you know, it's time to kind of cut our losses if that's the case.
Councilor Ramirez.
I certainly share the sentiments of Councilor Donahue and Councilor Elliott, but I kind of want to suggest that we probably tread a little lightly, and maybe we can get an opinion from the solicitor. I'm not entirely sure whether they've breached any of their contracts, but I know that they have 14 months left. And I don't want to be prejudging or giving the contract any bad publicity or any sentiment that the council has already moved on from it. There's no question, I hear what they're hearing. I want to exert every right that's available to us, but the contract was done, it was done in good faith, and I just don't want to frustrate. I don't want to frustrate an existing contract, and I want to treat them like the good tenants that they are, and make sure that they know that we wish them well and we want them to succeed. So it is timely, it's good to ask questions, but I just want to be careful, and I would like to get to ask the city solicitor what her thoughts are about these kinds of discussions in an open forum.
Sure. I think that, again, as far as the comments and the concerns that have been raised, I think they're legitimate things for discussion. As the manager had indicated, in terms of the timing of all of this, he is getting ready for his year-end review, and part of that year-end review would naturally encompass some of these issues, and certainly all of the contract provisions at our end and their end would be reviewed at that time as we move forward. I understand what you're saying in terms of being sensitive to those type of issues, but I think as far as what's done so far, we're fine.
Great, thank you. And again, I share the sentiments. I read the paper. I listen to my constituents. I just want to make sure that if it is going to be, if the contract is going to end and they are going to leave or things are going to happen, that we do it in the best light possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Broderick?
Thank you. I agree. I think that timing is perfect for this motion, and we were sold a promise of a product, a professional product, and I can't judge whether it's been delivered or not. I guess that's up to the manager and the solicitor to find out if they've fulfilled their obligation. But certainly, we're subsidizing it, and we have the obligation to at least look, and I look forward to the report and supporting whatever we can do to stop the bleeding over there as much as we can, and hopefully turn it around. Whether because there's been suggestions that it's a big interference with the UMass Lowell hockey, so I don't know what can be done. There's contracts, and it's on your lap, Mr. Manager. But I look forward to anything that can be done to stop some of the bleeding over there and get it turned around, because something has to be done. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. The next motion is by Councilor Elliott. The City Council requests the City Manager contact the state delegation relative to the application filed with the Department of Conservation and Recreation by NEMBA for the creation of mountain bike trails in the state forest. Second by Councilor Broderick. Councilor Elliott.
I believe someone wanted to speak, but I don't think they registered, and that's my fault, so I'd ask for suspension of the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules by Councilor Elliott, second by Councilor Donahue. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? We do have a speaker. If you could just give us your name and address, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Manager. I appreciate it. And I'm also sorry I didn't realize I had to do that as well. But my name is Tom Eagle Rising Libby. I am the chief of the Greater Lowell Indian Cultural Association. More importantly to you, I'm also a Lowell resident. I live at 67 West Meadow Road. I'm here to support Councilor Elliott's request to ask for the state delegation to get involved in an issue that we believe is serious and also growing more and more problematic in our state forest. The increase of bike trails by an organization, NEMBA, which you've read is the New England Mountain Bike Association. We're seeing a change due to the continued development of these bike trails. The forest is becoming more of a terrain park for ATVs and motorbikes than it is a passive recreational area for families to do walking and jogging and so on and so forth. We're seeing an increase in safety hazards due to the lack of maintenance of these trails. The police presence is very low due to the fact that it's the Lowell Drake at Tingsboro State Forest. It's kind of hard to get any one particular entity to take some ownership of it, which in my opinion should fall on the state, not necessarily the three cities, but that's another topic. We're also seeing a lack of general public being present down there due to some partying and alcoholism problems that we're having out there. A lot of litter, some things that you probably wouldn't want your children seeing, or grandchildren, depending on the age of the people in the room. But the presence of those ATVs and dirt bikes, I'm not sure if everyone's aware of, but is illegal in our forest here in Lowell. So it again gets a little haphazard out there when you're out there walking with your children and you hear these ATVs in the background, you get kind of nervous. There are also a number of environmental issues that I'm not going to bore you with, but they're more important to us than I think that I get a little bit more passionate about it. But in any case, I also wanted to let you know that just in a very brief period of time, we started over the weekend a petition, if the city council is interested. In I think it was about 3 hours that we spent in this. We have 267 signatures that are asking you to help us put a stop to the development of these bike trails out in the forest. If you want to look at it, you're more than willing to. That's actually a copy of it. I have the originals in my hand here. Last and not least, I would ask that if the motion is passed, City Manager, if you could expedite the process, because these proposals have been put into the DCR already, and they're looking to get approval on the construction of these proposals by the end of the month. So it's kind of a pressing need for us.
Mr. Manager?
If I may, just a question. I'm a little, just a little confused, I guess is the best way to put it. Are they mountain bikes or are they motorized bikes?
Well, essentially what they're doing, New England Mountain Bike Association is trying to create mountain bike trails. Well, the harsh reality of it is the ATVs are out there anyway. They're driving around anyway. You create a mountain bike trail, the more you use it, the wider it becomes naturally. As soon as an ATV can fit on it, they use it. So essentially every trail that a mountain bike puts out there are going to be used by the ATVs. And what we're asking the DCR and anybody else who can help us get involved is to just stop building new trails. They have over 15 miles of trails in that small state forest. The necessity for more miles of trails doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
So it's just opposing any new trails?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Now, on the flip side, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
On the flip side, I mean, they're also asking that, or mentioning that they're going to potentially try to close some of those trails down. And the harsh reality of that is that's almost an impossibility. Once it's open, you can't close it. And that's one of the reasons we're asking so firmly to cease and desist, no more. Like I said, 15 miles I think is plenty. I don't know if you guys ride mountain bikes. I do. I don't think I would ride 15 miles in a day. It's kind of a hard thing to do, but in any case.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Elliott?
Thank you. I think Mr. Libby really wrapped up the issue and provided the reasoning behind it. But and I think it's important to note that there's an organization, Friends of the Forest. Mehmet Ali has been working with NEMBER in the past to develop a number of trails, and they have been successful at that. But I think Mr. Libby sort of. The issue is there are 15 miles in the forest right now that even with NEMBER's help, the Friends of the Forest cannot maintain these. And last night I was at the Pawtuckaville Citizens Council meeting. This issue came up, and Mr. Ali did indicate there are even some trails that are created without DCR. And I think the reason why I raise this is because there is no public notification or participation process. Any organization like NEMBER can go to the Department of Conservation and Recreation and propose new trails in any state forest, quite frankly, without the residents, neighbors, or even city officials be notified. So I guess just my own information, how, is there a way for us to be notified if any other applications are filed? And if so, there's got to be some public input that should be allowed for this. And I mean, luckily, Mr. Libby, they lease a piece of property for the state, and that's how they sort of learned of it. But otherwise, this would have been a done deal, and we wouldn't have known about it. And it could continue. There is no limit. Is 15 miles the right number, or 16, or 18, or 20? I don't know, but I think the issue is a mountain bike trail of 2 feet becomes 3 feet, and then you have ATVs, and then it's just not enforceable. So there seems to be plenty of mountain bike trails, but naturally mountain bikers probably want new places to go and more trails. But there's got to be a balance, and there's got to be some restrictions. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. Next motion by Counselor Rita Mercia and Counselor Caulfield. The City Council requests the Traffic Subcommittee revisit the Traffic Ordinance, Chapter 13-151, concerning parking of large vehicles. Motion by Counselor Rita Mercia, second by Counselor Caulfield. Counselor Rita Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Some time ago, we received an email as to the concern of U-Haul enclosed box trucks and large trucks in general who park on dense neighborhood streets for long durations of time. The trucks never move but only act as an obstruction barrier and hinder the view of children playing. This seems to be a public safety issue to me, and having received that email was just one email, but in fact, I have been out and about for the past 2 weeks, and people didn't know that I received, or this council received, an email such as that, and expressed similar concern about their particular neighborhood, and it's quite spread all over the city in densely populated areas where we have large trucks, and I'm not concerned if you have a large box truck and you have a driveway and you park it in your driveway. That's not the issue here. You don't have it on the street where children are roller skating and riding their bikes and spring is here, and you know, it's just a very scary prospect. I also feel that tractors of large trucks with loud idling engines emitting diesel fumes and rattling neighbors' windows are not the most desirable people, and I wouldn't want anyone to be near this, and this is another complaint that I'm having. Therefore, I feel that we need to put new language in the law. And how many times do you warn people with tickets, and how many times do we ticket them before we can tow them? And this is a concern as well in the Centerville neighborhood, because I did speak to some people that are neighborhood people there, and they're concerned about people that they're up at 2 in the morning with their trucks and they're idling it, and the diesel fume is going in their home and waking them up. And so I feel with this motion that we should revisit this ordinance and rethink about the safety of the people, the children, anyone that may be at risk in the neighborhoods when the obstacles such as these box trucks hinder the driver's view. And I don't know how much fumes people should be allowed to breathe in before they get sick and die over it. Now, the ordinance that I looked at regarding this they present specific weight, size of the vehicle. The vehicles can't exceed 24 feet in length, so when I talk about a box truck that's under 24 feet and it doesn't have 3 axles, then this truck is exempt from anything. Nobody can do anything about it. They have the right to be there. And you know what? I know that people pay an excise tax and they have a right to park in streets. But, you know, you got to take into consideration the hazard that's there with trucks such as this are parking on corners, so when people are actually coming out of that street, they have to like go out into the middle of the main street to get away from this. I mean, there's so many things that we should be looking at. So I'd like to just revisit this again and see if we could add some teeth in it. I know that they talk about the weight, so in the axles, but I do feel that this is a timely motion that we have to address it. It isn't just over that one email. It was about the input that I got within the past 2 weeks concerning, this concern is widespread in many parts of the city.
Thank you. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an excellent motion, and I've had many complaints. In the Highlands, there's a recreational vehicle. It takes up the entire half of the street. And people have to go around this vehicle, and there's going to be a serious accident. So this is a good motion to address this issue. And I asked Councilor Broderick if he could make a meeting next Wednesday at 5 o'clock. And he said he could. Could you, Councilor?
I'll be there.
5. And could we have a member of the law department here, Mr. Manager, along with yourself and so forth? And, you know, the gentleman that owns the recreational vehicle in the Highlands, he moves it off the street in the winter on his lawn. And I asked myself, why can't he move it there permanently? And more people complain about that vehicle, and I think we're going to address it finally. So this is a good motion, and I'm happy I signed on to it.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And having said that aspect of it, some time ago, I think, Mr. Manager, that you were here, and I asked that bollards be put in front of the corner of Moore and Meadowcroft Street. A truck went around the corner and demolished those bollards. And it's an ongoing issue to the point where I don't know what we're doing, but that's a traffic issue as well, and I'd like to refer that somehow if we could.
Mr. Manager?
If I may, Councilor, on that one, we did have that situation. As you know, there is some industrial property back there, and we do have an issue there with the trucks that have utilized that roadway. We did install the bollards. They were hit. As soon as the ground warms up, which should be any day now, we will be replacing those so that to help with that situation again.
Imagine if they weren't there. That truck probably would have went through the house. And, I mean, God almighty, but thank you, Mr. Manager.
All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion's approved. Next motion by Councilor Caulfield. City Council requests the city manager have the proper department address the inoperable meters on Lower Middlesex Street. Second by Councilor Broderick. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last Thursday, I was in the Middlesex Street area, and I was talking to two business people, and they complained that one is the barber, my barber. His customers park in front of the meter. Once they get out of the car, the meter will not accept any change. It's jammed or whatever, and they go along and do their business. And lo and behold, that when they come out, they have a ticket. So either put a boot on the meter indicating out of service, or fix the meter, because the business community is really getting, and I know the parking department is getting complaints as well. So I know we talked about it last Thursday, and if you can address it, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Manager?
If I may, Councilor, we did check on that immediately. I put this in a more formal report to you, but we sent the parking people up there. We have a parking meter report that's done on a daily basis that reviews broken meters, and we went up there, and we didn't have. We do have a problem with broken meters. Unfortunately, people jam meters to avoid having to pay the quarter or dollar, whatever the case may be. And so we are having we have had a problem with that. We are looking at some new meters to solve that problem. In this particular area, we did meet with the owner of the barber shop and discuss this with him.
Thank you.
And one of the issues that we're seeing, more than a broken meter, and I don't doubt that has been a case up there, is there's the parking meters there are only 15 minutes, and it's been a request that we extend those out to 30 minutes. So we will be doing that, and but just on a regular basis, we do get a parking meter report daily with any broken meters, and we put a repair crew out there immediately to fix it. So we do have that in place, but we'll put this in a more formal report for you, Councilor.
All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. Next motion by Councilor Broderick. City Council requests the city manager update the council on the Hamilton Canal selection status and describe the selection criteria. Second by Councilor Caulfield. Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know you've given us numerous handouts, and maybe the proper thing would be to send it to the Economic Development Subcommittee for an update. The concern I had was that the city is close to making a recommendation, and I don't know what it's going to entail. I'm not a big fan of surprises, and I think that it'd probably be a good idea to have the council, maybe others know more than I do about it, but some maybe question and answer session, if you will. It'll also give you an indication of the concerns we may have and criteria that we think are important. We've all gotten a number of letters on 40R, affordable housing, whether that's going to be included in the district, and that there's money available for that. I don't know if that's appropriate at the level you're dealing with now, or if that's a charrette. At the charrette level, but basically just to get some, I guess, some feedback. I thought would be a good idea, feedback from the council, and get an update as to where we're at before it comes in for a final vote, and we either scrap it and start over, or hopefully have something that we're all up to speed and agree on.
Thank you. Mr. Manager?
Counselor, I think certainly keeping the council up to speed on this is something that I want to do. I've tried to get reports out to you on a regular basis, and I appreciate your comment on that. That I think it's important that people know how we're going through this process. I'd welcome the opportunity to meet with the subcommittee and answer any questions on where we are with the status. We are getting close. We're down to 3. We've had numerous meetings. We're now off looking at some of their projects that they have in this area. They're all national firms, but again, I'd be happy to come in and address any questions you might have as to how we're going to proceed from here, and to hear any concerns and issues that the councilors may have. It's a very important project for the city, and one that I think it's important that there be full, open, public discussion about how we're going about this process.
Thank you. I agree. I mean, it's obviously it's huge. It's the biggest project we've got going and had going for a long time, if ever. And I think that you've given us a voluminous information, and quite frankly, probably too much information in terms of details. And I think a quick, a meeting in terms of an update in what's involved in the process. Because we're all having people ask us, I'm sure, is there going to be affordable housing? Are we going to get all the money back that we've spent? That's a big one. We're into it for $6 to $8 million. Are we going? People are maybe expecting we're going to get a huge check, and that's going to cover the tax bills for next year, or any shortfalls and things. So I think just so that everybody's somewhat on the same page or has an idea, because we all, I imagine, I know I do, I get these questions, and just to have an idea if it's being considered or it's not yet being considered or whatever, but thank you.
Councilor Caulfield?
I just want to say that the 3 finalists, I read the resumes and all the projects that they have done in Baltimore, Providence, New York. Excellent. Excellent. So I think you hit a home run with these 3 finalists. Who you choose or who we choose is very important. But the 3 finalists are absolutely excellent.
Councilor Milanazzo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think this is a good motion. I think it's timely from the standpoint of getting some information to the Economic Development Subcommittee. My question, Mr. Manager, in the charrette process, do you envision that being a day long, a week long, a couple of weeks? Do you really have any idea at this particular point how long that process, assuming we get to that process? I believe we will.
We will get to that process, and it's I think initially it was planned to be sort of a week-long process, but in talking to the finalists, they have different ideas about that. They see it more as a longer term, rather than try to cram it all into one short period of time. A couple of the finalists have indicated they'd like to see it done over several weeks, to give people an opportunity to see the results of their ideas put down on paper, and some new drawings, some new plans, and it would allow for greater levels of community participation. So that's a goal that certainly that we share, and so it's hard to say exactly. I will say that it's not going to be a day. It's going to be something that's going to be done over a period of several days, but more likely over a period of several weeks, with various days in that time period.
Will those charrettes be advertised in the newspaper? Will there be public notices on those events?
There will be full, advertisement in the newspapers, press releases, and all of the developers have experience with a similar process, and have shown us what they've done in some of those other communities. And obviously, the success of the charrette process depends upon the greatest level of public participation.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Donahue?
Thank you. For the report to the Economic Development Subcommittee, could we also get an update on the Judicial Center and where we stand with the state, or if there's been any progress on their decision end?
Absolutely, Council. We were hoping that, I know that they had a meeting with us to go over some different scenarios, and they were going back to rework those, and they were going to be meeting with members of the delegation to talk about a couple of ideas related to the funding aspects. I believe those meetings have now taken place. I know that there was a conflict with some activities up at the university in the last couple of weeks, but we should get a better sense of that. We'll be able to discuss those issues as well.
Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion's approved. Councilor Broderick had something he wanted to bring up. It was in the communications about veteran squares.
Yes, thank you. I don't know if everybody received it from the Lowell Veterans Council, an update, or actually it's a correction for an oversight relative. They respectfully ask the criteria accepted by the City Council be amended as to automatic qualifying for the following: Navy Cross, Air Force Cross, and Distinguished Service Cross. The above are the second highest military awards possible. They obviously omitted it. I don't know what the pleasure of the council is, but I thought we either vote on it or send it to the subcommittee. It's just, it's not a, it's ordinance, it's just a rule.
Bring it up for discussion next week, put it on the agenda.
Why don't we file a motion? I mean, my understanding, Counselor, is that those things were included. And it was just that they weren't included in the newspaper article about the new standards. So they may well be in there.
Okay.
Why don't we, Mr. Manager, maybe have a report next week for us on that.
Yeah. I'll do that, Mr. Mayor. I'll have a report on that, as well as they've communicated with me regarding setting up the first meeting of that group, and they've asked me to set that up. So I'm trying to do that in the next month and a half.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you.
Okay. Motion to adjourn by Councilor Armin Mercia, second by Councilor Ramirez. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The meeting stands adjourned.
Yeah, see you next week. Maybe.